Anytime I'm doing a voice, which is often for me, it's based on someone I know.
Do you ever give them a heads up?
No, I try to get away with it. So, Pretty Woman. I was like 23 years old, 22. I played like a cop out on a Hollywood Boulevard. I had done a TV show before that and told everybody I was going to be in it, as you would do, and then got cut from the show. And I was really embarrassed and bummed. So I didn't tell anybody that I had gotten these few lines in Pretty Woman because I just assumed I was going to get cut. And then by the time the movie came out, I forgot that I didn't tell anyone. And I got all these calls from angry relatives going, "Why didn't you tell me you were in a movie?" I'm like, "Oh, I forgot I didn't tell people." That was fun. It was that's the movie that made Julia Roberts. I mean, I think everybody in show business already knew she was going to be huge. She was coming off that movie Mystic Pizza, but that movie really made her. Heat. That was insanely great working with Al Pacino, a hero of mine growing up. Michael Mann, who directed Heat, does a lot of takes, to the point where you get a little cross-eyed. And we shot that scene with Al where he screams, "She got a great ass!" That scene, which he had said normally like 100 times, "'cause she got a great ass." And then I guess he had been, maybe got driven crazy by how many takes he had to do and decided to yell it into my face from a foot away. To which I reacted to by going, "Jesus," like that. Not acting, just terrified, which ended up in the movie. It's the only ad lib at all of mine that ended up in the movie, was me going, "Jesus," when Al Pacino screamed at me. Mo the bartender on The Simpsons is based on Al Pacino, but young Al Pacino. Dog Day Afternoon, Michael Corleone Al Pacino, who's a little higher, Serpico Al Pacino. And I did that for Mo the bartender at my audition for The Simpsons. And they said, "We like that voice, but it needs to be gravelly. So if you take Al Pacino and make him gravelly, you get Mo the bartender." The Simpsons, yes, The Simpsons.
Who's been your favorite character to play in The Simpsons?
Probably Mo. He's been the most developed and closest to my heart. Mo is sort of a weird version of young Al Pacino made gravelly.
If this gets out, the next words you say will be muffled by your own butt.
Police Chief Wiggum is an imitation of Edward G. Robinson, who's an old gangster actor from the 1940s.
Wiggum. Yeah, right, mister. An elephant just knocked over your mailbox. Okay.
And it's actually my impression of Mel Blanc's impression of Edward G. Robinson. Mel Blanc, for you kids playing at home, was the original voice of Bugs Bunny and other Warner Brothers cartoon characters.
Snake is just kind of Jeff Spicoli from Fast Times, and also a kid I went to college with who was always stoned.
Okay.
Comic book guy is another friend of mine from college. Lived next door freshman year.
Oh, loneliness and cheeseburgers are a dangerous mix.
He had a Barca lounger in his room. He would sit in it, and he would have a list on his little dry erase board outside his door. If he liked you, you were on his good list. If he did not like you that week, you were on his bad list. And he would yell it out, "You were on my list!" That was the basis of Comic Book Guy.
Dr. Nick is a pretty bad impression of Ricky Ricardo.
Hi, everybody!
Hi, Dr. Nick!
So yeah, I just thought it would be funny to talk like this.
They assign roles in The Simpsons based on their instincts for who will do what best. And they're usually right. Sometimes they're not right, and we will either say, "Ooh, you know, I think I do Johnny Carson better," or actually, "Oh, I don't do a very good Fred Flintstone. I think Dan does." Now, I didn't know till many years later, kids, that there was an original Mo the bartender voice that I replaced. I didn't know that. And I was like, did that guy, you didn't like what he did? And Matt Groening was like, "Oh no, he was great." I'm like, "So then why did you recast him?" Like, "Oh, he was just a dick. His voice was great, but he was just kind of jerky to everybody." Think about how awful that guy could have been like on The Simpsons his whole life. Lesson, you kids, always be nice. Friends, The TV show Friends. I wanted to be Joey, and they said no, as you might be aware of. It's the only time I've ever asked to go back. It's like, you know what, you got to see me again. I got to try it again. That's how much we knew Friends was going to be, at least really funny. We couldn't have known that it was going to be that big a hit. Everyone I knew was like crazed to get in that show. They rejected me from Joey, but then I was lucky enough to do the movie Quiz Show, which kind of raised my status, and they liked me in that, and they gave me that role of Phoebe's boyfriend, scientist boyfriend. The Birdcage, directed by Mike Nichols. Mike had seen me in Quiz Show. He offered me any small role I wanted, which was nice, but small role. I picked that one, which he thought was crazy. He was like, why? Really? That one? I was like, yeah. And then he heard me do it at the table read, and he laughed. He said, okay, I can see why you'd like to do that, sure. And then later they ended up expanding the role. It was supposed to be just one scene. David Alan Grier was supposed to play the main, butler character, but they felt that an African American in that role might be in poor taste. It was based on a French film. So they ended up deciding to make it Latin and give it to me. And then I worked on a Guatemalan accent very hard, and it ended up just sounding exactly like my maternal grandmother. As I was working, I'm like, oh, this sounds like my grandma. Mad About You. I played a dog walker who talked like this. He kind of spoke this way, which is sort of based on a kid I grew up with, who ended up being a doorman of my building, who ended up becoming an actor. And I'm doing this voice for years, and I run into that guy. And he goes, hey, I saw you on Mad About You. And I was like, oh no, really? I was like, yeah? He's like, yeah, I thought it was great. He didn't realize it was based on him, so I'm glad I didn't say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to appropriate your entire being. Godzilla. That movie became the sort of poster child for what was wrong with Hollywood. Excess in budget and, marketing style over substance. You remember the billboards, and yeah, unfortunately for that movie, the ad campaign was a lot better than the movie itself. It was really excoriated. Like it didn't do well at the box office. It was one of those projects people really jumped on hating, much to my chagrin, because it was a big break for me, and so that movie doing well would have been very good for my career. I remember it was like a 5-month shoot. It was a long shoot. I remember Roland Emmerich, the director, saying to me about a week before we were going to shoot, so I decided that it's all going to be in the rain. Every exterior is going to be in the rain. The whole time it's going to be raining, and to make the creature look great, because the blurry lines. It was the early days of CGI, so anything that helped it look visually better was good. And I was like, awesome. I remember coming home and telling my girlfriend at the time about that, who was a very experienced actress who had shot a lot in the rain. I had never shot in Hollywood rain. She was like, oh my God, that's terrible. I'm like, why? She's like, you're gonna be soaked. You're talking about 12 hours a day for 5 months. Every exterior, you're gonna be soaked. I'm like, oh, how bad can it be? It was really bad. Hollywood rain is like big drops. It's like having buckets of water dumped on your head practically. But anyway, it's horrible. I got sick 4 times. Being wet is the worst. That's like more than anything else. Being soaking wet for extended periods of time, that'll make you question your career choice. Mystery Men, one of my favorites. Blue Raja, Master of Silverware. I just decided that it should be a proper British voice. I don't know why. It seemed funny. Well, what was funny about that, we decided that he's just putting that on in the movie. Like when his mom talks to him, he's like, Mom, get out of my room. And then, that's how he is with his mom. And then as the Blue Raja, he's this sophisticated sort of James Bond, if you will. That was, again, the early days of CGI. There were a lot of cooks. Me and Ben Stiller and Bill Macy and Janine Garofalo and Paul Rubens. And the director was a first-time director who came from the commercial world. And there was no real strong daddy, which is really what a director should be. He announced in the middle of shooting it, Kinka Usher is his name, that he was done. Like, I'm not direct. I'm going to happily go back to commercials where I make $1 million a pop and don't deal with all you crazy people. He was done halfway through that movie. But there was a lot of intense arguments on that. So, like, you know, Bill Macy dressed as the shoveler, and me dressed as the Blue Raja throwing forks at people, and I was like seriously arguing with each other, and we look absurd. Dodgeball, a true underdog story. At that point, Ben was making these films and invited me into that. Yes, Patches O'Houlihan, which is a kind of a combination between Clark Gable and what I imagine a young Rip Torn to be. And yeah, that was fun. I just came in for a day and was silly and left. Night at the Museum 2, Battle of the Smithsonian. Big Ben Stiller franchise. Boris Karloff impression. I played the villain, the evil pharaoh who comes back to life. Originally, that was going to be sort of a voice similar to what I did as the Blue Raja, though a little less flowery, sort of more casual and bored British. They felt it was a little boring. And so at the makeup wardrobe test, they threw up a microphone and I tried out some voices, and as a joke just started talking as Boris Karloff because he was the original mummy back in the 1930s. And they really liked it. Ben and Sean Levy really liked it. I'm like, really, guys? Because this is a little silly. Like, no, that's funny. A long game poli. I did a French accent in that. Claude, yes, Claude. Yeah, the hippo story.
You were ripped in that.
Everybody, that seems to be the takeaway from that film. You know, when you're going to be naked in a movie, it really motivates you.
Can you say scuba for us?
I can say scuba, but, well, are you for scuba? Are you?
No, not
You're not? As the French would say, let me know when you are for scuba. Anastasia, the fine animated film.
What would you like to know about Bar Talk? It's based on a cousin of mine. I told you. I based these characters on real people. This is my cousin. A girl cousin, actually. And always stayed in my head as be good for something. And sure enough, a little white bat. Who knew?
Brockmire. Most importantly, Brockmire. I love it. It's my favorite thing I've ever done. Most fun I have doing. It started as a voice, as most of my characters do. It's a voice that I grew up imitating. The baseball announcer of the 1970s, they all sounded like this, kids. Go look it up. Go on YouTube, find a baseball broadcast from the 70s. You're going to hear this guy. Well, you know, Harry Shearer at The Simpsons, who I work with, does the voice of Vin Scully on the show a lot. It's brilliant. And Harry and I would talk about over the years how baseball announcers are hilarious because they can say whatever they want as long as they give the count afterwards, you know. Man, oh man, I am jacked up on heroin right now. Breaking ball misses outside, want to know. So I thought that would be a funny premise for a sketch, which we made for Funny or Die, and then developed it into a full-blown series about a very alcoholic, drug-addicted, sex-addicted, insane baseball announcer. Thanks, GQ, for sitting in, listening in, looking in as I blathered on about my career.